So where have we been?
We've been wandering around the whole world of conflict, mediation, and you.
And we're back.
Yes.
And in all of the wandering around, we decided that it would be a good thing to talk about how to become a mediator. You know, since there were people asking us that. In fact, this past weekend, you were asked that question at least 50 times.
At least 50 times, yes. Talked to a lot of people about becoming a mediator.
So, and it's not that hard of a process. It's a little bit, it does put some demands on you, but they're demands that can be met.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
So one of the requirements for becoming a mediator, or I should say it's a requirement, but it really doesn't matter your level of education. That's not a big factor in becoming a mediator. So that kind of takes that concern away from a lot of people because they think that they have to have special education or special skills. But a big part of it, your life experiences.
Yes. Yes. In fact, a lot of people automatically assume that in order to become a mediator, you have to have some paralegal experience or you have to be an attorney to be a mediator. And that's not the case. In fact, a lot of people, when that question came up, they go, really? And the reason is because mediators don't make decisions in cases. So the subject matter expertise isn't the primary requirement.
Well, you might want to explain that a little bit, because if a person wants to do general mediation, then that is, as it says, general. So there's no specific subject or area of expertise that they need.
Right.
If they wanted to go into a particular area, let's say workplace, for example, then there might be the need for some expertise around workplace management, unions, those types of things. So,
right, there are many, many niches that are out there: special education, elder care, divorce, domestic violence, neighborhood disputes, workplace disputes, EEOC. There's just more and more niches that are growing, which is one of the reasons why mediation is one of the fastest growing fields. It seems like more and more people are becoming aware that it can be used and therefore seeking out mediators to resolve their cases rather than hire an attorney or rather than go to court. So all of those specialty niches, require some sort of knowledge. We do a very good job of equipping people in those specialties, of at least knowing the language.
but the base that they need to before they get into those niches, the requirements for the state, 40 hours of training.
Yeah, the state requires 2 certificates, and specifically we're talking now about the state of Georgia. If you're from another state and watching this, call the center and we'll give you information about other states. But in the state of Georgia, they require 2 certificates, a 28-hour certificate and what they call a practicum, and they have a 12-hour requirement for that practicum. If you put both of those 2 together, 12 and 28, we have a 40-hour class that will give you both of those certificates.
Okay, I want to become a mediator.
Yes.
I need to get 28 hours of basic mediation training.
First.
That is the first part of the requirement.
Yes.
What does that look like? How long am I going to have to sit in the classroom to get 28 hours?
28 hours is how long you have to sit in that classroom.
Straight?
Well, we do take bathroom breaks, and we have lunch breaks.
Oh, okay.
So usually, when we put the classes together, we actually are able to do it in, a week, and get it all done. So within that 5-day period, we end up with the 2 certificates required to register as a mediator in the state
of
Georgia. Now, those 28 hours predominantly are spent teaching. It's the general mediation class is the entry level for all the others. It's the prerequisite for any other specialty class that you want to take. So we teach you the mediation process in that 28-hour class.
Okay.
And there are 6 steps to the mediation process that we will walk you through and teach you the goals of each of those steps and techniques for getting to those goals. so that by the time you work through all of those process steps with parties in a conflict, you've increased the chances of the parties finding a resolution for that. So that's what we do primarily in the 28-hour, is teach you the mediation process.
And you said there are 6 steps there.
6.
What's the first step?
Mediator's opening statement. You learn to give an
Okay.
opening statement with guidelines or any kind of rules or expectations from the mediator and from the parties.
Okay.
Second step,
It would be the party's opening statement.
they get a chance to talk.
They get a chance, the opportunity to tell their side of the story, or their story, if you will. And each party will have an opportunity to do that. So during the setup, if you will, or in the training, you'll learn how to give the mediator's opening statement,
First,
the party's opening statement, and then
we have a joint discussion time because more often than not, we want the opening statements by the parties to be uninterrupted. So we don't want them arguing while they're telling their side of the story. So we have an opportunity for them to finally talk together in a joint discussion.
Okay.
So one of the techniques we definitely want to teach a new mediator how to manage is how do you deal with heated conversation when they're talking to each other. But that's primarily, we teach you how to get through a joint discussion.
yeah, there are tactics, if you will, that are applied in the joint discussion to help it to move smoothly.
Yep.
And if there are any glitches, any bumps, then we have a tool to get by that. So that tool is to, you probably know what it is already, you separate them.
Right.
We call it a caucus.
Yep.
And it's a private meeting. So we take the parties and we separate them.
Mm-hmm.
One party goes out to a location where they will wait while the mediator talks with the remaining party. That way, if there's any part of the any part or any piece of the story that they've told in the joint session, if you will, then they can share that with the mediator.
Right.
Okay. And then we'll do the same thing with the other party. That way, the mediator is going to get a more complete story, if you will. Yeah.
Definitely, because more often than not, there's things that a party wants to share, not necessarily in front of the other person.
Right.
So you get a chance to do that in the caucus. We do that with each, so they each get a chance to share their information privately with the mediator, and then we have a reconvening together. We get everybody back together. And that's usually where negotiations take place, where we've explored some options in the separate caucuses. They get a chance to start to look at options and negotiating possibilities for a potential settlement. If there is a settlement, what do we do?
Well, if there's a settlement, then you just write up the agreement.
Sixth step, writing.
Writing the agreement. And the secret here is that the parties are really writing the agreement. The mediator is only acting as a scribe.
Right.
So you're not having to come up with how to write it, what to say, or anything else. You want it to be in their words. So that by the time you go through this process, and we take you through this process, then you can see or you can do what needs to be done to call yourself a mediator.
Yes.
Yeah.
To become registered with the state. That gets you through the 28-hour, all those techniques and all of those process steps. Let's take a break and thank our sponsors and come back and tell them about the rest of
About the second part of the week, if you will.
becoming a mediator.
Okay, then let's do that. Sponsors?
10 years to learn the business. 10 years to make a name. 1 year on your own. It takes time to build a small business, but only 60 days to transform it with email marketing from Constant Contact. Sign up with Constant Contact and get 60 days of free email marketing to generate referrals, connect with clients, and build the business you've always wanted. Constant Contact. Start your 60-day free trial today.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit Brene.com.
Well, welcome back. The first half, or we were talking previously about becoming a mediator, and we
Right.
took you through the first part of the training, the 28 hours. And the next part of it, 12 hours to make up the 40 that you need, that's what we're gonna talk about now. And in those 12 hours, you will get to put into practice what it is that you were learning in the first 28 hours. So,
Yeah, it's called the practicum. I'm not sure if that's the best name for it, but that's what they call it. It's 12 hours. And what we've done then in the practicum is we shift from the technical side of the training, where we learn techniques and we lay a firm foundation of why the mediation process works the way it does. Why there are 6 steps, not 7, that sort of thing, and how they interrelate to each other. So we get very technical about the skill set looking during the 28 hours. But during the practicum, we shift. We're looking more at the art side of the practice. So we look at style. We've laid a firm foundation for decision making in terms of what's going to work. Now you get to apply it to you and fit it into your style.
so now you get to use it.
Yes,
Okay.
you get to practice and more importantly, get to make mistakes.
And the state of Georgia wants to know that you have done this.
Yes,
So the practicum is an opportunity to meet the state requirement of having done, performed, executed 5 mediations.
right. And get feedback on those so that you're evaluating, looking at other mediators, finding out what your style is. I like that. So one of the standard questions we work through is, you've watched somebody do a mediation. What did you like about what they did? What did you not like about what they did? And what would you do differently? How would you do that differently? And I'm always evaluating. Our responsibility at this point is just measuring to make sure that your style doesn't leave the parameters of confidentiality, neutrality, and self-determination. As long as we keep those 3 pillars in place, you're free in terms of developing the art side of the practice.
So when the new mediator to be is going through the practicum, and they have to do a role play, they have to do the role play as a mediator.
Yep.
So in that role, they will get to practice, if you will, in the practicum, the use of the opening statement.
Yes.
They will hear a party's opening statement, because we'll have participants who will role play complainant and respondent.
Yes.
So you get to practice your opening statement, hear the party's opening statement, practice how you listen to that, and how you take in what the parties are saying, and then the next step to that, and you're actually doing this becomes very real, but the next step of that is to have a joint discussion.
Right.
And you're actually doing this.
And they get heated, and you get to apply some of the techniques we've just taught you and see how they work.
Now, and it's a safe environment,
Right.
because you're there, you're able to practice, you're able to do what it is that you've been taught to do. If you make mistakes, it's no big deal.
Right.
No big deal.
In fact, we learn often more from the mistakes.
Yes.
And by having the chance to play the mediator and a complainant or a respondent, you get the benefit. It's still a learning experience because you're having these techniques done to you or on you, and you get to see what it feels like. If a mediator does one of the techniques well, you get to, hey, that actually made me think about my position, made me think about changing my mind.
So during the course of the 12 hours and doing the role play, you get to role play as a mediator, as a participant, and as an observer.
Sure.
So you get to see this process from three, if you will, different perspectives.
Yes.
So it's a lot that's kind of crammed into 12 hours. It sounds like a lot of time, but it goes
Yeah.
very
It
quickly.
can be very intense
Yes.
by the end of it. So you have the two certificates, and then the state wants an application, and that application must have those two certificates attached to it. And then there's a fee for registering. Once you pay that fee, that covers you for a year. And all mediators, at least in the state of Georgia, have to renew their registration on December 31st of every year.
And there's another piece to that renewing, that you have to have continuing education, if you will, along with your reapplication or your renewal of your application. And that's easily accomplished because we here at the center, we provide that also.
Yeah, all kinds of techniques, training, practice, extra practice sessions for those. You know, you get a chance to learn new techniques as they come up, new things that are happening in the field. We are constantly providing continuing education for you to get those credits fulfilled. So those 3 hours plus your renewal for the application, you're a mediator in the state of Georgia once your application is accepted. Now what that does for you is you now, as a registered mediator in the state of Georgia, have access to every court in the state of Georgia that has a mediation program.
And even to those that don't, who are in the process of setting up a mediation program.
And that's part of what's exciting about this is there are still courts in Georgia outside the metro area that haven't even started their programs yet. In fact, I just heard recently of a county close by that's just started their program, they're looking for new mediators. So there's opportunity out there becoming a registered mediator with the state of Georgia.
And having been part of a team in a county that was just setting up their mediation program, that's an exciting place to be, because you're in on the ground floor and part of everything that goes into this program being offered in the courts.
So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how does a mediator get cases? And one way is to go call the different programs, and there's a list on the website, we can give you that information, of all the ADR coordinators and ask them, do you have room on your roster for mediators?
How do I get on your roster?
Get on your roster. And then they will, based on your schedule and their schedule, coordinate an opportunity to funnel cases to you through the courts.
Now, that's getting onto the roster as a general, in the general category of mediation. So now that you have the basic behind you,
Mm-hmm.
now you can go into more advanced mediation, if you will, divorce mediation, family mediation, elder mediation, on and on. So there's the field is wide open for wherever it is you might want to go with this set of skills, and it's skills that you can use any place too. So.
And that's, I'm constantly telling people this, the skills that I've learned in this career track has influenced my life both in my personal relationships and my professional relationships. Mm-hmm. The application of these skills, far-reaching impact in so many ways. Even if you just put on your resume, you never do a mediation for the court. You put on your resume that you've been trained and certified, you're a registered mediator in the state of Georgia, it looks good that you've had some conflict management training. Which also brings us to the last possibility. Not only do you have access to every court in the state of Georgia that has a mediation program, but you also have the chance, if you want, to start your own practice
yes.
as a mediator. You can pick a niche, have your specialty, advertise yourself in that niche, and start your own practice.
And many mediators do that because we come to the table with experience, with skills. So we take those skills paired with the new skills, mediation skills, and we can be off.
Yes.
Well, Rick, that pretty much completes what we wanted to accomplish today. So it looks like we have arrived. So it's time to park the car and get out.
Thanks for watching.